Hey everybody, welcome to my plant-based kitchen. Can't wait for you guys to come inside. Let's get busy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Kimberly's plant-based kitchen. We are here today and it is all about fall, you guys. All about the soups, the savory dishes, the stews, everything that makes us feel nice and cozy, makes you want to just stay in the house, have some chili by the fire. This is what this show is all about today. So we're going to start off this whole session because the next few shows will probably be all about fall. And we're going to do a few different types of stews and chilies, things that are really good for the gut. If you're having any issues with your microbiome and you might be dealing with IBS or any other type of stomach issues, warm foods are the way to go. You can still get in all your vegetables, but you're going to do them actually cooked. And I'm not talking about cooking all the nutrients out of them. I'm talking about cooking them until they're done, but still have the nutrients, minerals, and vitamins that are going to be beneficial to your body. So if you're having stomach issues, getting warm stews and soups is the perfect way to get your veggies still in, but to give your stomach a break from all the raw food, because digesting raw food sometimes can be a bit harsh on the stomach. So it'll be a lot easier if you are having those issues to make a good stew or soup or chili. And today we're going to make one of my favorites. We're going to make lentils. So delicious. I know I say that all the time, but it is. So we're going to do lentils, and we're going to use some green lentils today. So we got our green lentils. You can use green or you can use brown. Get organic if you can. We're going to make some muffins. We're going to make, instead of cornbread muffins, because cornmeal is super hard on the digestive system. Corn is definitely GMO, so you don't want to be doing that. So we're going to be using a really good grain. It is a grain, so if you can't do grains, you might not be able to do these, but it's going to be vegan, no dairy or anything. This grain farina isn't really harsh on the stomach, of course, unless you just can't do grains for some reason. So we're going to use some farina. This is spelt flour. We're going to use this spelt flour instead of like a regular whole wheat flour or bleached flour. It's a lot better for you. And those muffins are delicious. So they're similar to cornbread muffins, but they're going to be made with the farina. The farina is going to give it that texture of like what a cornbread muffin would be. Delicious. And we're going to put a little vegan butter on there, and you guys are going to love it. It's going to go perfect with our lentils today. A nice hot cup of soup and a nice delicious muffin. That's going to be nice and buttery. You won't be able to resist it. So let's get started. You're going to need a nice sized pot to do this. So make sure you have a nice stock pot that you can use. Because this is going to be enough to serve probably 6 or 8. If not more. I always have leftovers, and I have a family of 4. So it probably serves a little bit more than that. But it will tell you all of that in our recipe. So we're going to use the brown lentils. We're going to be using carrots cut up. I'm going to cut some more of those up. If you want to make this a true alkaline meal or soup, you definitely can. You can replace the carrots with an orange pepper instead of using the carrots. And everything else that I'm going to put in it is basically would be alkaline. So if you're somebody that really sticks to eating alkaline, you could just switch the carrots out for an orange pepper. Okay, so we're going to use the orange peppers. We're going to use some white onion. And of course, we're going to use some garlic. I'm going to cut up a little bit more onion here. And you're basically just going to slice up your onion. It doesn't have to be super thin. And we're going to do 2 carrots. 2 medium to large size carrots. If you're doing the orange pepper, you can do 1 large orange pepper. And it's super easy here. Chop that up. Just put that so we can dump that all in the pot when it's ready. Throw this in the trash. Okay, and then we're just going to chop up. Our onions are ready. And you're going to use like about 1 whole onion, like a small to medium sized onion. You use that whole thing. I'm going to chop up the rest of this one too. No need to let this one sit. So yeah, this is my favorite time of year. I love when the fall comes in and the seasons change, or as much as they change in California, because we are in California. But just having the soups and the food that's just a little more cozier is always so nice. Because it does get a little bit of a chill here. We'll get more cold probably in December. But yeah, I really do love this season. And there's so many delicious vegetables that come out. All your squashes and stuff. Apples. What do we have? Figs. All those different types of fruits and vegetables that come back into season. And it's always nice when we can eat our vegetables and our fruits when they're in season. Oh, and collards. The collards are coming back. So in my garden, I grow collards. And I grow some of the fall seasonal vegetables. So I'm looking forward to having plenty of collards because I use those for lots of different things. We're also going to put some kale in our soup at the end. I'm going to saute a little bit of this up and we're just going to put it right on top. So we're going to make sure we're getting in our good green leafy vegetables too with our soup. And you can use collards, you can use kale, you can even use spinach if you wanted to. It's up to you. And I'm going to use about 5 cloves of garlic because I like it garlicky. Okay, so about 5 cloves of garlic. And we're just going to chop this up really quick. And all of this we're going to put in our stock pot. And we're going to cook our veggies down with a little avocado oil. This one isn't any good. Let's grab another one. With a little avocado oil. And we're also going to put in some fire roasted tomatoes, which is going to really give it a good flavor. So that's going to be really, really yummy in our soup. So we're getting some really good vegetables in there. We're getting the carrots, the onions. We're getting the kale at the end, a little bit of the fire roasted tomatoes. I'm going to use canned fire roasted tomatoes. You can use fresh or jarred ones if you had a chance to jar some this summer. I wish I would have. I had so many tomatoes, it was ridiculous. And I didn't take the time to jar them. I should have. I'm definitely going to try to make sure next season that I'm on that. Because it really does make a difference when you get the fresh tomatoes versus canned, even if they're in a jar because they've been, freshly packed in that jar if you're getting them out of your garden or from the farmer's market. Okay, this doesn't have to be mixed up really, really small because we're going to take half of this soup at the end and we're going to blend it, and that's what's going to make it nice and creamy. Okay, so that's a nice size mix right there. And let's turn on our pot so we can get our soup going, and then we'll start on our muffins. Let's see. Okay. And we're going to turn this on like a medium-low heat. We don't want to burn our veggies. We're going to add a 1/3 cup of oil. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's just going to give it a nice little rich taste to our soup. It really calls for olive oil, but I don't like to cook with olive oil because it turns, rancid once you cook with it. So I am going to stick with the avocado oil, but it's still going to give it a good flavor. Okay, so we're going to put in our onions. Let's dump these in first. Okay, onions. And we're going to put the rest of these in there also. Now this is definitely time for pumpkin season too. Pumpkin season is here. So we'll definitely be doing some different things with pumpkin. There's actually a really good pumpkin soup. Yeah, do the pumpkins and you can mix it up with the butternut squash with apples. I know it sounds a little weird, but it's actually really good. So I can't wait to show you guys that one. We have a cauliflower soup that's creamy and really good too. And the rest of our onions. Gonna go in there. And they're sizzling. We're gonna add the carrots. Okay. And we're gonna let that cook down for a few minutes before we actually add our garlic. I'm just gonna move this out of the way and throw this other stuff in the trash here. Okay. Don't want to be cooking in a mess. Always clean up as you go. Makes it a lot easier in the end. And we're gonna add a little bit of salt, and we're gonna add a little bit of pepper here. Let me see if I can find my pepper. Oh yeah, it's over here. So a little bit of sea salt. All the measurements will be in your recipe. Okay, and then we're gonna do a little bit of this pepper. So we're just gonna season as we go and just kind of layer the flavors. Okay, let's grab us a wooden spoon and stir this around a little bit. Give this a chance to kind of cook down. Really good. I don't know, it always reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen. Me helping her out in the kitchen. It's probably why I love to cook now and entertain, is because of my grandmother. She was one of the greatest entertainers as far as dinner parties, Saturday morning breakfast, and just having that time with her in the kitchen taught me so much. So that's probably why I really love to do this. And my mother also, she was a great, great cook. So I guess it just came to me honestly. So now we're going to open this up because we're going to need these fire roasted tomatoes. They're diced. They're organic, of course. Okay. So we're just going to open these up and get this ready. Because we're going to cook these down a little bit too, because we want that flavor of the tomatoes to blend in with our onions and everything before we put our lentils in. Okay. That is cooking up really good. We're going to add our garlic. So this only needs to cook down for a couple of minutes, maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. Doesn't have to be a long time. All this is going to cook once we put in our veggie broth and our water. Let's scoop up our garlic and get that in there. Yeah. Smells amazing. Delicious. Okay, guys, so let that cook just for a moment. We're going to rinse. We're going to use 2 cups of lentils. We're going to rinse these in some cold water. Lentils, you don't have to let them soak. I never let mine soak. I always rinse them really good. I know some people who do, but it's not necessary. It's not like regular beans where you have to let them soak 5-6 hours or overnight. Okay, so we'll just fill that up. We'll use the rest of these too. Why not? Okay, so we got 2 cups. We're gonna rinse these really good. And if you guys haven't tried lentils, you'll love them. They're delicious. I love lentils. So these are in the colander. We're just rinsing them down really good. We'll let those drain for a minute. Then we'll add our tomatoes. Okay. Garlic's in there. Onions, carrots. We're going to add our full can of tomatoes. Just rinse this before we throw it away. Throw that out later. And we'll just let this cook down. And we're going to add some of our spices. Okay. We're going to add some of this curry powder. And then we're going to add some of this cumin. And we're going to use dried thyme today. Fresh thyme is a lot better if you have it. Didn't have any today, so we're going to go with the dry, which is perfectly fine. Rub this just a little bit to open it up and get those flavors out of there. It smells so good. Okay, so we're just going to dump these in. We'll have all the measurements again on your recipe. This is a couple of teaspoons each probably. I've been doing this recipe for so long, it's like one of those, you know, your grandmama, your mama's recipe, a pinch here, a pinch there. So We're gonna put those in, and we're gonna add a little more salt. And then we're gonna do most of the other seasoning and making sure it has enough salt and pepper at the end. And we're gonna add some red crushed peppers, also just to give it a little heat. Nothing too crazy. A little more sea salt. Okay. And if you can't do a lot of salt, then just kind of cut back on that. This isn't a ton of salt, but you know, we want it flavorful. But you're gonna get a lot of flavor just with the veggies and the other seasonings, the cumin and curry. So now we can add our lentils, our rinsed lentils. I'm gonna add these in. This is gonna be amazing. A meal that can last your family, depending on how big it is, for the rest of the week. This could be a one-pot dish, especially since you're going to have your kale or your collards on top, and then your muffins with it. Or you can have this the next day as a side. And you saw how we did on our Taco Tuesday episode. You could have it as a taco, leftover lentils. Smash them up and put them in a taco. Now we're going to do some organic vegetable broth. This one is low sodium, so just making sure that we're not using a lot of extra salt or anything. And we're going to use 2 of these. These are 32 ounces. 2 of these. And we're going to make sure our lentils are covered because they're going to cook up, and we might have to add a little water once it's all cooked up and they start to swell up a little bit. Okay? So let's get our other vegetable broth. It smells really good, you guys, already. And I know if you're living in a cold state, if you're back east, it might already be cold. Even though it's only fall, if you're in New York somewhere, you might be freezing. So this will be a nice meal to come home to. You could actually put this in your slow cooker also. Cook this all day and have this when you get home. A nice, warm, nutritious meal that is absolutely delicious. So we're just going to stir that in. We're going to put our top on this, and we're going to let this cook until it starts boiling. And we're not going to let it boil for long. We just need it to come up to a boil, a rapid boil, and then we're going to turn it down to low. So maybe like about maybe 10 minutes it might take it, maybe quicker. So just keep your eye on it. Don't walk away from it too far. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're going to check these lentils and see if it's time to cut them down. Yes, they're boiling. So now we're going to cut this down to low, all the way down to the lowest it can go. And now we're going to just let these simmer. And if it continues to boil, just crack your top just a little bit so it gets a little air and it can just simmer. And while those are cooking, we're going to get started over here with our muffins. We are going to put these together in like 5-10 minutes, super quick. If you have a handy dandy KitchenAid, this would be perfect to use now. If you have a hand mixer, that'll work perfect too. If for some reason you don't have a hand mixer, go old school with it and use a whisk. You'll be perfectly fine, or a wooden spoon. This is just going to make it a little faster for us. We're going to use a recipe I've had forever. I still don't have it memorized, but okay, I know it's 1 cup of flour. So we're going to do the 1 cup of spelt flour. That's this here. Let's use one of these smaller ones to dip in here. So 1 cup of the spelt flour. And we're just going to level this off. If you're a baker, then you'll be familiar with this. Let me just grab a butter knife, make it a little bit easier to level off. And with baking, you kind of got to be a little bit precise. So it's not always about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You want to kind of make sure. So 1 cup of flour, that's the spelt flour. Put that in. Top back on here, and I think it's 3/4 cups of the farina, but let's just check to make sure. let's see. Oh, a half a cup of sugar. We can start with that. We can use monk fruit sweetener, which is really awesome. If you're looking for something that looks exactly like sugar, this will definitely do it. It's sweet, just like sugar, but it's 0 calories, 0 glycemic, which is amazing, 0 net carbs, and it's keto friendly if you're onto keto. So this one is perfectly good to use. You could use coconut sugar. I like this one a lot. I use this in a lot of my baking, but today let's just try the monk fruit sweetener. I haven't used it in the muffin yet, and I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out. So we're going to use this today. I've used this. I use it in like my iced tea or drinks that I do like that, but I haven't actually baked with it yet. So let's see how these muffins turn out with it. But if you're diabetic, if you're trying to stay low on your sugar, which we all should be doing, especially white refined sugar or brown sugar, this will definitely be the way to go. This will definitely keep your sugar, way down. So 3/4, let me make sure, I think it's half a cup. Half a cup. Okay, yep, phones always come in handy. Half a cup of sugar. And this is the monk fruit sweetener. Not using any regular white refined sugar. Okay, a little bit of a mess here, but we'll clean that up. So a half a cup of sugar, and we'll just go down the list. 3/4 cups of salt. So we're just adding all of the dry ingredients first. So 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Let's see here, 3/4. Where's our fourth at? I need my reading glasses on for this. Okay, let's use this one right here. So 1, 2, we're doing 3/4, okay? 3 of those. Our beans, our lentils, smell so good. Okay, they're doing fine. Just checking, they're cooking down. We might add a little bit of water over there in a moment. So we got our sugar, we got our salt. Let's do our farina. We need 3/4 cup of that. So let's get a 1/4. That would be this. This looks a little damp. Let's just make sure it is dry all the way. And we're going to do 3/4 of the farina. Shake that off. 1, 2, and 3. I actually use this recipe to make like what would be a cornbread stuffing or dressing for Thanksgiving or Christmas and different holidays like that. It is amazing. So you won't miss the cornbread. It makes a really nice dressing. And we'll do a whole special on Thanksgiving. So you'll have all your plant-based actual meals or recipes for your big Thanksgiving meal. So we'll definitely do that. And we're going to do 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So 2.5 teaspoons. Got our baking powder here. Okay, so this is what's going to make our muffins rise. And we're going to do 1/2. Okay. And 1/2. All right. And let me make sure, I think that's all our dry ingredients. We got, and then, this regularly when I was doing, eggs and all that stuff, it calls for 1 egg. We don't need an egg. I've already done this recipe several times without it, and it was perfectly fine. So we have all our dry ingredients in. We're going to put our wet ingredients in. We're going to use almond milk. I'm going to use the vanilla. Give it a little extra flavor. So let's do, I think it's 1 cup. How much milk are we doing here? We're doing 3/4 of a cup of the vanilla. Let's see where my glass measuring cup is. Here it is. Glass measuring cup. Let's rinse this out. We have the beans in here. Okay. So 3/4 of a cup. Let's see where 3/4 is. Okay. Oh, it would help if I took this off. Take the top off. Alrighty. And let's fill this up. everybody is looking forward to Thanksgiving this year. Hopefully you'll be able to get together with your families. I know it's still COVID. And it is going to be back to like flu season and stuff. Hopefully everyone can get together with their family. I know I'm looking forward to it. And having some good healthy meals would also be super amazing. And then let's see how much oil we need. We're going to use some of the avocado oil instead of vegetable oil or any type of hydrogenated oil. So we're going to do a 1/3 cup of oil. Let's see if we can put that in that same glass. Where's our avocado oil? Use some of this. And 1/3. Okay, so 1/3. You know, we're so used to growing up using canola and vegetable oil and all those different types of oil that we know aren't really good for us now. The vegetable oil has no vegetables in it, so go figure. We'll just scrape this out with our rubber spatula, make sure we get everything. That's another thing with bacon. Another thing with baking, you want to make sure you get all your ingredients in there, so get you a good rubber spatula, and you're going to use this to scrape your sides down also. And I think that's everything. We got our salt, we got our farina, our flour, sugar, milk. I think we got everything in here. Oil. Okay, we're going to lock this sucker, and we're going to turn it on. We're going to turn it on to medium, and we're just going to let this combine all together. And while that's going, I'm going to put these muffin cups in our pan, our muffin pan, and I think this is going to make almost a dozen, or yeah, this is 12. I think it's going to make like about 10 from what I can remember. And depending on the size of your family, 10 should be enough. If not, you might have to make a double batch. Let's scrape this down a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit more milk, just a tad bit. I want this to be easy to pour, not too much, so that probably was like a couple of tablespoons. Too high. Don't turn it up too high. Okay, and let's scrape our sides down just a little bit to make sure we get this mixed up really well. Scrape the bottom of the bowl also, just to make sure you're mixing everything up good. Okay. I'm just going to add a tad bit more milk. I want this to pour easily into, we don't have the eggs, so I want this to pour easily into. And you can add flaxseed to this also, if you wanted to do flaxseed eggs. And that would be, I think the recipe is usually, I'll add it, but it's usually like 3 tables of flax seeds grounded with 2 tablespoons of water, and you let that sit, and then you add that in. Okay, I think this is good. And we're gonna pour these in. I think our lentils are doing really good over there. Those will be done before these muffins are done. And I'll show you how we're gonna thicken that lentil soup up by blending half of it. Okay, let's take this off. This in. See? As you see, I like to clean as I go. So I hate to have a big mess at the end of cooking. It's like the worst. It makes people not want to cook. When your kitchen is all super messy. It's like at the end you have sitting down and eating your dinner. We're going to put this in the mixing cup just so that it pours in here easily, the measuring cup. So yeah, clean as you go. So then at the end, maybe it's just your dinner dishes that are left before you sit down to eat, or after you eat. Because if you're the mom, usually you're going to be eating last. We're going to fill these halfway to the top. with this mixture. Okay. And I think we're going to be right on the nose to about 10 or so of these. Let's fill the rest of this up. And these are going to be so amazing with our soup. I know you guys can taste it already. It smells like curry in here, cumin. And have these hot, delicious muffins with a little butter. Come on. Who doesn't want that? Okay. Now let's pour the rest of this in here. See how many more we can get. That's good. Yeah, muffins. These are it's my husband's favorite meal. He is vegetarian, so he still eats a little bit of dairy. I need that spatula again. But he doesn't eat any meat or anything. So he does a lot of beans, our lentils, and whenever I make these muffins, he's like so happy. I could make these and I could get anything from him if I make these muffins. So I'm pretty sure you guys will like them. He hasn't even noticed that I'm not making him, you know, he doesn't notice that I don't use the egg anymore at all, or I'm not using refined white sugar. So I'm pretty sure you'll be able to trick your family with these. If they're used to the corn muffins, they might not be able to tell the difference at all. Okay, let's clean this pan off a little bit. We're gonna pop these in a 400-degree preheated oven. Okay, wipe this pan off a little bit before we pop this in there. All this extra sugar dropped on here. So yeah, you guys, they won't be missing those muffins once you fix these at home. And this is easy. How long did that take me to do? What, 8 minutes maybe at the most? Let's put these suckers in. Okay. 400-degree oven for 20 minutes, preheated. Okay guys, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back guys, and we're gonna put together our kale for our lentils. They're pretty much done. They're just simmering over there, smelling delicious. We're gonna cut this kale up, take it off the rib first. We're just gonna peel this off. So if you haven't dealt with kale before, just peel it off this middle rib. And this is purple kale, purple curly kale. You can use the regular green. You could use the dinosaur kale. You could use collards. Any of those would be perfectly fine. Spinach if you prefer spinach. Just make sure you clean them really well and chop them up. Saute them. Spinach I wouldn't even cook beforehand. I'm just going to cook this down a little bit because the kale is a little tougher. So just a light saute, nothing major. Going to keep all our nutrients, like I said, and our veggies. So we're just going to lightly saute this down a little bit, and then we'll add it to our soup. And we're just going to take this off. Super easy. This can be done ahead of time, so you can have this finished already. Like usually, and when I'm doing good, if I go to the farmer's market or if I'm in my backyard and I'm doing a harvest, after I bring everything in, I like to clean everything, cut it and chop it if necessary, and put it in, store it in some Ziploc bags or maybe some glass containers that go, Tupperware that go in the refrigerator. And then when you need it, you can just pull it out. So if you're switching over to plant-based and you're not used to this, do whatever it takes to make this easier so you're not discouraged to do it. You want to get this done, and you want to make sure that your stuff is pre-prepped because it makes it a whole lot easier. Especially if you're trying to make sure you have meals for the week and you're actually meal prepping. This will make it so much easier for you, and you'll feel like doing it. Because sometimes when you get home from work and you're tired and you have the children, and you might have to prepare 2 different meals because maybe your children are not trying to do plant-based. But for you, maybe you're, dealing with some health issues and you want to start getting healthy, so it's super crucial for you to start. So you want to make it as easy as possible. And just pre-prepping everything, especially your veggies, will definitely make it a lot easier. So I am just chopping this down. So it'll be just like some nice bite-sized pieces. Once we put it in our pan to saute down. And I'm just going to switch sides with this kale that I've already cut. Let's just do this. Switch this puppy over. So we'll chop the rest of this down. And I'll just roll this up just to make it easier. Roll it, bunch it up, but get it all together. So then I can just simply chop this down. Watch your fingers. Especially when you're new with this. I have cut myself a few times. And then we'll just switch it over that way. And we'll cut it down this side. See, there I go. Gotta be careful. And this doesn't have to be minced, so it doesn't have to be super small, just chopped. So it's some nice bite-sized pieces. And it cooks down easy when we put it in a skillet to cook down. And I'm just going to add a little bit of onion to this, not much, because we already have onions and stuff in our soup. And I'm not going to even add the garlic, because we already have garlic in our soup. So just add a little bit of onion to this in the pan. And you'll see about how much, maybe like a 1/4 of a cup of chopped onions. And turn this the other way, opposite direction. And you're just going to chop this down again. Okay. So now we're going to chop up a little onion. And we're going to throw this in to our skillet. And while we're throwing that in the skillet, we're going to take half of the lentil soup and we are going to blend that down. And that's what's going to make it nice and creamy and thick. Not super thick, but just add a nice consistency to it. Okay? So let's just peel this. Get the skin off of here. Okay. Alright. And that'll be enough. We don't need a whole lot. Our soup has plenty. Okay. And if you have a food processor and you don't want to do all this chopping, slap it in your food processor. We have many food processors, the larger size, so you don't have to be stuck with chopping. All right, let's heat up our skillet a little bit. We're going to put a little bit of oil. And we're going to turn this on. We want our front one on. Medium-high heat. We're going to saute this up fast, so the heat can be a little high because, like I said, we're not looking to cook this for a long amount of time. Maybe like 5 minutes. We'll let that just heat up just for a few minutes. Add our onions. Let's check on our soup here. Just see how it's going. It's looking good. We're going to get our blender ready. So we're going to take out our handy dandy blender. And we're going to add about half of that soup, maybe a little less. And we're going to blend that down. We're going to bring this over to the actual pot so it won't be dangerous. And before we do that, while that pan is heating, we're going to add some of these chili peppers. So these chili peppers will give it a little heat. And that's about a tablespoon, no, not a tablespoon, maybe like about a teaspoon. We're going to add a little more salt because I know it needs it. And then we'll taste. Okay. A little more pepper. Black pepper. And if we need any more curry or cumin, we can add that also. But, smells divine. Yummy. And let's just taste this a little bit, just to see where we are with our flavors, and if we need anything else. Let's just see here. good. Heat is good. It'll get a little, the cumin already gives it a little heat. Let's add a little more salt. And then the chili peppers, once we grind this up or blend this up, is going to get a little hotter. So I think we're good on the heat. I don't know about you guys, but I like a little heat with my beans or my lentils. And I'm going to scoop some of these tomatoes in there so they can blend down, and we'll leave some whole ones in there. This is a nice hearty lentil soup. Delicious. So just about half or a little less than half, and a little juice so this can blend down good and easy and nice and creamy. Okay, one more scoop of juice. Alrighty. This over here, we'll put the top back on and add our onions over here to our skillet. Lock that. Let's add our onions. I think our skillet is ready. Okay. Onions are in. Ready. And we'll just stir those around just a little bit, and then we're going to pop this kale in there. And like I said, this is going to cook pretty fast. Put our top back on our lentils. And let's add this kale in here. Let's add all of this over here. I mean, such a nutritious and delicious soup. You can't beat this. One pot meal is what I'm talking about, guys. Easy breezy. Okay. It's only going to take a couple of minutes to cook down. Add all of this in if you have a big enough pan. So just make sure your skillet is big enough. It's going to cook down pretty fast. Okay. I smell the muffins. They smell amazing. Alright, let's just check on those. There's our timer. Muffins are done. Alright. And they look amazing. Ready. Let's put these up here to cool. We're going to melt some butter for those. And turn that off. And stir this around. And this is pretty much ready. You can put this in the soup now. It's going to cook down. This is a really, I mean, even if you just wanted to add your chopped kale to your soup and let it cook down in there, you can. We're just doing this to save a little time. We're going to add this, and then we're going to blend the rest of that down. That. And now, skillet's a little heavy, but we got it. Get all the onions. Okay, perfect. Hope you guys got some pretty soup bowls, because this soup deserves a pretty bowl. Let's blend this down, you guys. Okay. Turn this off also. Soup's off. We'll put our top down so our kale can get in there. And over here to our blender. Put all that in. And let's line this up. Make sure we're doing this right. Here we go. Okay. And lock. Okay. Let's plug in. Power. Let's do hot. Okay, blend that down nicely. Now we can add this back to the soup. Oh, release, that would help. Press the button, Kimberly. Okay, let's take this over. It's back to our pot. And this is what's going to make it nice and creamy. Put this over in our skillet. Hold this down. Yummy. good. And we'll just stir that back up. Now that looks nice and creamy. We have our beautiful green kale in here. These tomatoes and carrots. Looks amazing. Okay guys, we're gonna plate this up. We'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back and everything's done. It's time to plate up our goodies. We have our vegan butter here. We're gonna pour these over our muffins. So I just melted a little bit. You can actually put this on as soon as they come out and it will melt. These look amazing. This butter is just gonna make them super scrumptious. Yum. I don't know about you guys, but butter was one of the things I didn't want to give up when I started going plant-based. I mean, come on. You're not missing a cornbread muffin. These are perfect. They smell bomb and delicious. I'm going to put these over here nicely. We got our nice little fall color for our muffin little cups. Yummy. Just stack these up. And how many did this make? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're just short of a dozen. One short. Okay. Put those right there. They look lovely. Get this out of our way. And we're going to bowl. We have these amazing, cute fall bowls, you guys. These are like bowls. These you can put in the oven. You can put a pot pie in here. You guys, make sure you get you some pretty dishes. Get some pretty little things to plate your food in. Make your stuff look really nice. Why not? You don't have to keep your nice china for special occasions. Treat yourself. Okay, so we're gonna put some of our soup. Look at that lovely soup. Yum. The kale looks amazing. Yes. Come on. We'll wipe this little pot off here. We're gonna fill our other one up. Great date night dinner. You want to impress a boo? Make this. Let him know or her know you can cook. And you got him. This is marriage material right here. You get married with this type of stuff. This is how I got my husband right here. Yes. So we're just going to wipe that off. Make it nice and pretty. Set this over here. We're going to take one of our muffins. Come on, you guys. Look at this. We're going to take one of these muffins. Ooh, yummy. And you know how you like to do it. What did you do when you were little? You would take that muffin, my husband still does, and you would break it up and you would put it in your soup or your chili. Delicious. Let's try it. Grab us a little bit of muffin. You guys, come on now. This juice has soaked into this muffin. It's gonna be so good. So good. You guys get in your kitchens. Go get your lentils. Get your stock pot. Get your pretty bowls, muffin pan, and make this. You'll be so happy that you did. I'll see you guys next time.